Little boy's touching proposal to Waitress reveals. Incredible twist, he's the billionaire's son. Timmy sat at the diner's corner booth, gazing up at his mother, Maria, as she deftly navigated the lunchtime rush. The sounds of clinking dishes and the friendly banter in the cozy diner filled the air, but his thoughts were drenched in a singular focus: how to lift her spirits even higher. The weight of coins in his pocket felt heavy, like dreams bursting with potential, ready to spill over. He imagined a home, their home, with a little garden, a swing set, and a cozy kitchen where they could bake cookies together. The thought of giving his mother everything she deserved filled him with determination. Just then, as Maria smiled at a group of regulars, Timmy's heart raced, nerves fluttering. He had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times, yet now words seemed tangled in his throat. What if she didn't understand? What if she thought his dreams were mere fantasies? The suffocating sense of doubt mingled with a desperate need to show her love, to translate his heart into a tangible gift. It felt monumental. He was ready but terrified, standing on the edge of a beautiful proposal. Before he could approach, he noticed Mr. Davidson, a wealthy businessman, leaning in to hear their conversation surrounding a child's innocent desire, combined with the weighty tales of hardship. Timmy didn't realize the eyes watching his every move, nor could he foresee the storm brewing on the horizon, a collision of worlds shifting with every word shared. As the moment unfolded, Mr. Davidson's curiosity morphed into revelation. Amid the flurry of realization, he mentioned searching for something he lost long ago. The weight of it smothered the air with an eerie significance. Timmy's heart dropped at the cryptic demeanor. Was it truly coincidence? Was he connected to this man in ways he could hardly comprehend? Then it came like a jolt. Mr. Davidson, voice laced with nostalgia, claimed he was looking for his long-lost son. Shock rippled through the diner, a shattering of simplicity into unexpected complexity. Timmy felt a dissonance explode within him. What did this mean for him and Maria? Fear gripped him. Would everything he knew dissolve in an instant? Would his unwavering bond with his mother endure, or would it fray beneath the weight of lavish suits and gilded opportunities? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the murmurs of the diners crescendoed around them, Maria's face bore the marks of conflict. The pressure hung thick, a delicate tension between the life they had built together and the prospect of wealth that loomed before them. Could she rival the life that beckoned with golden glimmers? The question twisted in her mind. Could she let Timmy walk that unfamiliar path while fearing the loss of the love that had defined them? Just like that, the realization coiled tightly within her. A mother's resolve caught between ambition and the irrepressible bond they shared. Would she stand steadfast beside him if he chose this new life? The faces of patrons morphed from laughing friends to silent observers, making the stakes feel impossibly high. As she looked into Timmy's hopeful eyes, the chasm of possibility threatened to engulf them both. What does it truly mean to be a family now, when everything she had sacrificed for him hung in the balance? The diner buzzed with whispered speculations, but all Maria could think was that their lives would never be the same again. Timmy stood frozen, caught in the tremors of a moment that felt like a turning point. Each breath thudded in his chest, each heartbeat echoing the weight of destiny mapping out his future. When Mr. Davidson's eyes met his, they weren't merely the eyes of a stranger. They bore the potential of opportunities that could change everything. What did it mean to be associated with someone of such affluence? Could wealth redefine their bond, or would it fracture it entirely? Panic clawed at his insides. He understood, maybe now more than ever, the fierce desire of a child yearning for a life that seemed just outside reach. A life filled with security, comfort, and possibilities. But was that life worth losing the essence of who they were? The love and hardship shared with his mother had sculpted his character, and he feared what might happen if that was overshadowed by a gilded existence. A sudden resolve surged through him, shredding the veil of uncertainty. If he was to venture into this new terrain, he would not go alone. "Mom?" The uncertainty in his voice cracked even him. He stepped closer to her, his tiny frame diminished by the enormity of the moment. Maria's gaze softened, a mixture of confusion and concern etched across her features. The weight of their past pressed heavily against the allure of the future looming before them. "Timmy, sweetie?" She started, but her words faltered as she sensed his determination. "I don't want things to change between us, Mom. No matter what happens." His voice grew firmer, as conviction drowned out the initial tremor. "We can be happy with whatever comes, together." He clutched the coins tighter in his pocket, knowing full well that their journey was not about wealth. It was about something deeper. Maria's eyes glistened with unshed tears, touched by his loyalty, yet she couldn't shake the dread that wrapped around her heart like vines. Could she ensure that love remained the bedrock of their lives amidst this emerging chaos? Mr. Davidson cleared his throat, interrupting the fragile moment. "I didn't mean to upset you both," he said, his voice softer now, almost quivering with a touch of remorse. "It's just, there are things about my past. I find myself longing for that connection, for my son. If I could help you." His words trailed off, the implications shrouded in unsettling promise. Timmy felt a whirlwind of emotions cascade through him. His mind rushed to visions of a fantasy life, but conflict clashed against longing. Could Mr. Davidson offer them more than just wealth? Would the union of their paths bring hope or grief? Help how? Timmy found himself asking, not out of curiosity but necessity. The word hung in the air like a challenge. If it was an invitation to reshape their lives, would it come at a cost? He sensed the tension crackling between Maria and Mr. Davidson, like the air before a thunderstorm, and decided he wouldn't back down. Maria's heart sank at his boldness. She wanted to shield him, to scream for him to run from the well-meaning businessman. But the little boy she had raised stood before her anew, brave and curious, filled with ambition. Who was she to stifle that spirit? Caught in a storm of emotions, Maria felt herself drifting. She would either pull Timmy back into the safety of their shared struggles, or hold firm as life offered an uncertain yet alluring way forward. The choice lay heavy on her, the mother grappling with her own desires and fears. As Maria braced herself for the weight of her decision, an unexpected realization dawned upon Timmy. Perhaps within this intersection of lives lay not just a potential future of wealth, but a chance to discover who he could become. "Timmy," she said quietly, "we need to think this through." But in her heart, she wondered if the time had already come for bold steps, whether they would step towards a throne or into the unknown. Across the diner, diners resumed their chatter, oblivious to the monumental shifts unfolding in the small corner booth. Timmy's eyes penetrated into Mr. Davidson's. With tenacity swelling within, he confronted the opulent figure before him. "I'm not afraid. I just want to know if you want to help us. Really help." The question met silence, charged with possibilities. The atmosphere shifted again, leaving everyone on the precipice of an unknown journey. What would happen next, and what awaited them on that road ahead, remained suspended in the air, thick with the weight of unexpected choices. While outside, the light shifted, casting long shadows as night began to fall, hinting at challenges yet to come. Timmy's heart raced as the silence stretched, feeling like a taut string ready to snap. Mr. Davidson's demeanor seemed to shift, the warmth in his gaze softening into something more thoughtful. Timmy leaned closer, willing himself to absorb the atmosphere of this crossroads. It felt electric, laden with unvoiced possibilities that danced in front of him like sparks. "There's a way to change your lives," Mr. Davidson finally replied, his voice now calm, yet laced with intent. "I believe I can give you both the stability you deserve, but I need to understand. What is it that you both truly want?" The question pierced through Timmy's thoughts, pulling him back into the depth of his desires. He had dreamt of many things: a stable home, a nurturing environment where his mother could rest easy, and perhaps an adventure filled with learning and discovery. Yet, as he searched Mr. Davidson's eyes, he felt that the essence of his wish extended beyond mere comforts. It hinged on preserving the fiercely woven bond between him and Maria. "We want to feel safe," he said at last, surprised by the clarity of his own voice. "But we also want to be happy together." He felt his mother's gaze prick his side, igniting an internal fire. "I don't want to feel like money controls us. It's—" He hesitated. The simplicity of his next words weighed heavy under their implications. "It's about more than stuff." Mr. Davidson regarded Timmy with a peculiar mixture of admiration and calculation, as though weighing the boy's insight against his own desires. "Wise words for someone so young," he said slowly. "But your world is complicated. Wealth changes everything. I come from a place where kindness is often masked by obligation. I want you to understand that before we proceed, I won't pretend that my intentions are entirely altruistic." Timmy swallowed, the lurking fear igniting again within him. This was a man who could make all their dreams come true, but just as easily unravel the single thread that held him and his mother together. He could sense his mother starting to hesitate, the very foundation of her trust visibly wavering. He needed to anchor her. "How can we trust you?" Timmy asked, the tremor in his voice reflecting the weight of the question. Maria's breath caught, and Timmy couldn't discern if it was a gasp of relief or anxiety. He was ready to confront this labyrinth of possibilities. "Trust is a fragile thing," Mr. Davidson admitted, eyes now clouded with layers of regret. "I haven't been the father my son deserves. I want to change that for you. But that requires transparency." He paused, afterthoughts grappling in the air. "If I offer my help, are you willing to let me into your lives?" Timmy glanced at his mother. He could see the flicker of doubt battling with a yearning for a better life. They both understood that accepting help might lead them down paths unfamiliar and perilous. But the allure of something greater loomed enticingly, a prospect that could change the narrative of their small existence into something profound. "What would you need from us?" Timmy found himself asking, a sudden resolve solidifying within him. He recognized that this moment was not just an invitation. It was a negotiation of trust, responsibility, and hope. "Your openness, your willingness to let go of preconceived notions of how life should be," Mr. Davidson replied, a gleam of determination sparking within his eyes. "And in return, I can offer you guidance, a chance to uncover your potential." Timmy's mind raced at the ambiguous promise. The thrill of possibility stoked a flame of ambition. Maybe, just maybe, this could lead him to something more significant than wealth. Perhaps it was a chance to define who he was meant to become. Yet, as he held his mother's gaze, he felt the weight of the choices ahead. Would they step forward into the unknown, or cling to the struggles they had known? The tension crackled, each second stretching like a taut wire, leaving everything fragile and waiting. As they prepared to respond, the world beyond seemed to fade away, further encasing them in this moment of collective potential. But beneath the surface, shadows lurked. If Mr. Davidson could help them find their new narrative, what secrets tangled within that path, and what lengths would they need to go to protect what truly mattered? Timmy's thoughts raced as he consumed the weight of Mr. Davidson's gaze. It was a mixture of urgency and uncertainty, and in that moment he felt stripped bare, as if the very foundations of his life were being put under scrutiny. He needed to respond to Mr. Davidson's challenge, but the path ahead darkened with each thought. "Maybe we could start with a meeting," Timmy heard his mother suggest, her voice a mix of hope and fear. It struck him then how much she was willing to step outside her comfort zone, driven by the desire to protect their fragile existence. She looked to him for support, her eyes pleading, and he felt a surge of responsibility wrap around him like a cloak. "Meeting?" Timmy echoed, his voice steadier than he felt. "What do you mean by that?" "A discussion to see if we can align our goals." She glanced at Mr. Davidson, who nodded slightly, his expression thoughtful. Timmy felt the environment shift, a sense of collective drift toward unknown territories. "Let's take time and explore what this would mean for both of you," Mr. Davidson proposed. voice smoothing the tension warped in the air. Before we plunge into this, I want to establish a foundation of collaboration and understanding. Collaboration seemed benign, yet Timmy knew too well what was at stake. Visions of a stable life flickered warningly against the shadows of dependency. He couldn't help but wonder if they were building bridges or merely inviting a wolf into their midst. "Okay," Timmy ventured, the word hanging heavily. What had started as a hopeful conversation now felt labyrinthine. Could they navigate such a delicate alliance without losing themselves? Days passed as they met with Mr. Davidson, both Timmy and his mother engaging in tentative interactions, attempting to untangle their thoughts from the amalgamation of tension and potential deals painting their lives anew. Each session revealed fragments of Mr. Davidson's world, discussions mingled with corporate jargon, shadows of wealth playing out in stark contrast to their modesty. Timmy surprised himself by responding thoughtfully, engaging in every new concept introduced. He wished to define their own narrative, yet a deeper awareness crept in. He wasn't simply learning about business or potential wealth. Each conversation peeled back layers inside him, awaking a sense of ambition he had buried in the relentless struggle for survival. Was it possible he had a voice in this world? A week later, with Mr. Davidson positioned as the harbinger of their transformation, Timmy sat in a sleek office space, overwhelmed by its polished aesthetics infused with power. It was a far cry from the cramped living room he was accustomed to. Mr. Davidson animatedly described the way they could structure business dealings, his words floating with an intoxicating allure. Yet, something primal tugged at Timmy, a subtle dissonance nagging at the back of his mind. "Why do you want to help us?" Timmy found himself intruding upon the sophisticated flow of thoughts, voice steady. "Seems like you have everything you need." Surprise flickered across Mr. Davidson's face, swiftly replaced by a calculated calm. "Because I see potential in you, Timmy, and because I didn't protect my own son the way I should have. I wish to ameliorate my own past failures through supporting you." Those words rocked Timmy. Could a heartfelt motivation reside in the chasms of such immense privilege? His gaze met his mother's, her uncertainty morphing into a quiet courage. They were merely searching for balance and healing in this tumultuous process. As Timmy pondered the truthfulness of Mr. Davidson's claim, his heart raced again, not in fear, but in an unfamiliar excitement. The stakes were higher now than ever. But still, shadows loomed within sparkling offers. What if this path, with its cloak of potential, veered into something darker, entwining their lives in knots beyond unraveling? Lost in thought, Timmy only half heard Mr. Davidson's next words. "A deal awaits, one that will redefine not just your lives, but perhaps even mine. Will you make the leap?" And as he stood at this precipice filled with unknowns, Timmy grappled with the question that weighed on him. Were they prepared to leap into potential doom or greatness? The choice hung palpably in the air, waiting to be brushed away or embraced. The moment echoed forward, each heartbeat amplifying the answer that lay unfurling within. But could they trust in the leap? Just then the office door creaked open, revealing a figure Timmy knew all too well, the irrefutable embodiment of complications he wished to steer clear of. The world began to close in around him. How would he navigate this new threat? Timmy swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his past collide violently with the options laid before him. The figure who entered was none other than Kyle, the boy Timmy had always regarded with equal measures of admiration and jealousy. Kyle had everything: wealth, confidence, and an effortless charm that seemed to draw people in like moths to a flame. "Timmy, didn't expect to see you here," Kyle said, shock playing over his features as he spotted Timmy across the room. His casual tone belied the depth of their history. Memories of enduring taunts and silent comparisons flooded Timmy's mind, igniting a spark of unresolved resentment. "Same here," Timmy replied, trying to project steadiness as dread coiled in his stomach. The prospect of facing Kyle, especially in such a pivotal moment, sent tremors of anxiety through him. What would it mean for his plans with Mr. Davidson? "Is this where the magic happens?" Kyle continued, casting a quick glance towards Mr. Davidson, who regarded him with a thin smile. Suddenly, Timmy was cognizant that this meeting, so carefully orchestrated, was going to be complicated by someone with power and privilege at his very fingertips. He felt like a marionette ready to be manipulated, his aspirations doused in an avalanche of self-doubt. "We're just discussing a potential partnership," Timmy said cautiously, feeling his voice tighten. The implications of the word partnership now felt flimsy in Kyle's presence, as if they could be swept aside at any moment. "Partnership, huh?" Kyle replied, tilting his head, an amused grin stretching across his face. "You must be talking about the big leagues now. I heard my dad mentioning the Davison deal." Timmy's heart raced, his awareness sharpening. Could Kyle's father be another player in his already complicated game with Mr. Davidson? The thought connected threads between their lives that Timmy had hoped to keep severed. The unbraiding of secrets loomed overhead. "What's it to you?" Timmy shot back, his voice sharper than he intended. The tension between them crackled, igniting the air thick with unexpressed rivalry. Kyle raised an eyebrow, his expression shifting to something more serious. "Because, Timmy, you might be stepping into territory you're not equipped for," Kyle warned, the facade of friendliness slipping for a brief moment. "Trust me, things can get messy in deals like these, especially when families get involved." A chill ran down Timmy's spine as he caught the double meaning in his words. Kyle was subtly issuing a threat wrapped in concern, a reminder that wealth and power often meant there were strings attached. "Thanks for the concern, but I can handle myself," Timmy replied, attempting to suppress his racing thoughts. He needed to anchor himself and regain composure, both for his mother's sake and his own. The atmosphere had morphed, anxiety thickening like fog. Timmy felt plunged into a new level of complexity as the specter of consequences loomed larger. Mr. Davidson's interest began to feel less altruistic under this newfound scrutiny. Was this alliance really a pathway out of their struggles or a path into a larger battlefield where every move was scrutinized? Timmy searched for clarity among the noise in his head. He would not let himself be cowed. Maybe here lay the moment he could turn the tide, not only against Kyle but against every doubt he had about his worthiness. "We'll see about that," Timmy replied, surprising himself with the edge in his tone. Just then, the gravity shifted again. Mr. Davidson shifted in his seat, a bemused look crossing his face yet again, as if recognizing Timmy's growing resolve. "I believe we need to address the conditions carefully, gentlemen," Mr. Davidson interjected smoothly, his gaze darting between the two boys. "I assure you that every partnership must be built on clarity and strategic intent." Timmy realized he stood on a precipice of not just potential but peril. The dynamics were altering, the ground shifting faster than he could comprehend. Uncertainty gnawed at the edges of his resolve, and yet the thrill of risk enticed him, much like an uncharted journey, daring him forward. How could he be a player in this evolving game? Feeling the currents change, Timmy prepared himself for what lay ahead. He was no closer to answers, but he understood one thing. He was more than ready to confront Kyle and Mr. Davidson. The real challenge was yet to come, and one question lingered in the air like smoke. Could Timmy find the strength within himself to redefine his narrative amidst this storm? Timmy's mind raced as he processed Mr. Davidson's words, the gravity behind them reverberating in his chest. Sensations of anticipation and dread swirled together, heightening his awareness of the fractured relationship between ambition and trepidation. The weight of his past encounters with Kyle cast shadows over the prospect of securing a partnership. Was this an opportunity or a trap laden with unseen dangers? Kyle's presence lingered in the corners of Timmy's thoughts, a persistent worm wriggling in the fabric of his confidence. Their conversation was more than just a casual encounter. It was a lightning bolt that illuminated all the insecurities he had long struggled to conceal. Timmy looked at Mr. Davidson, his mentor, who seemed unaware of the fierce internal battle raging within. "Timmy, let's discuss the specifics," Mr. Davidson prompted, his tone shifting to a more businesslike demeanor. This was it, his chance to reclaim direction and seize control. "Right," Timmy said, forcing buoyancy into his voice. "We need to draft a proposal that highlights our strengths and outlines clear objectives. A solid game plan can minimize any potential conflicts." "Ambitious," Kyle smirked, folding his arms. But can you really negotiate in this arena, Timmy? It's a different game than what you're used to. The challenge was unmistakable, but so was the flicker of doubt it ignited within Timmy. Maybe, but I believe in what we're offering. The value we can bring to the table goes beyond mere monetary gain. Timmy managed, holding Kyle's gaze. Each word had to be precise, measured against the weight of expectation. There was urgency in proving that he could be more than the overlooked underdog. Taking a deep breath, he mentally layered his thoughts. He remembered his mother's sacrifices, the lives that hinged on his success. He steeled himself against the taunts echoing dull from years of feeling inferior. This was not merely a project. It was a mantle he was determined to wear despite the weight. That's the spirit, Timmy. Mr. Davidson's approving nod encouraged him further, shoring up the resolve he would need. When walking into negotiations, one must wield knowledge like a sword. Timmy felt the swell of determination. He had always admired Mr. Davidson's approach, intelligent, strategic, and unwavering. He envisioned a moment of clarity unfurling as he pieced together his thoughts into a coherent framework. Perhaps it was time to embrace not just his ambitions, but also his own growing expertise. Let's outline our strengths, Timmy said, grasping a legal pad and pen, scribbling down each point that came to mind. We can focus on the technology angle. We bring innovative solutions that can enhance efficiency and drive revenue. Furthermore, we're adaptable, something larger companies often overlook. He glanced at Kyle for a moment, who seemed more bemused than threatened. The youthful bravado on his face began to fade, revealing curiosity instead. It was a small victory for Timmy, and it inspired more confidence. But what happens when conflicting interests arise? Kyle interjected, a challenge entrenched in his tone. Are you really prepared to deal with the consequences? Timmy paused, the question settling like lead in his stomach. The truth was, he had never been tested in such conditions. The stakes were higher than ever, and the prospect of failure loomed large. But there was no turning back now. Retreat was not an option. Ignoring the swell of uncertainty, he pressed forward. Absolutely. I may not have your experience, Kyle, but I'm willing to fight for this, to make it work, even when the odds are against me, he declared, surprising himself with the strength of his conviction. The room pulsed with tension as both Kyle and Mr. Davidson regarded him with new respect. Timmy was aware that this was a pivotal moment, the culmination of his fears being challenged head-on, reshaped into resolve. Just as Timmy was hit by the flood of possibilities, another voice joined the conversation. A voice he hadn't expected to hear, one that could change the stakes completely. Maybe you two should consider that a partnership is not just about benefits but about trust and integrity. Are you prepared to put that on the line? The newcomer spoke with authority. Timmy turned, his adrenaline spiking. Who had just entered, and what would their arrival mean for everything he hoped to achieve? The question hung tantalizingly in the air, promising further complications ahead. Timmy's gaze shifted towards the door, his heart racing as a figure appeared, silhouetted against the harsh office lights. It was Emma, one of the firm's senior partners, known for her decisive nature and sharp intuition. The dynamic in the room altered instantly, infused with a sense of gravity. She possessed an uncanny ability to dissect conversations, often cutting right to the core of any issue. What do you think a partnership means, gentlemen? Her voice echoed in the room, drawing the attention of both Timmy and Kyle. It was more of a statement than a question, yet it clung to the air, a challenge in its own right. Timmy felt a jolt of anxiety shoot through him. Was she here to critique or support? The weight of her question pressed on his shoulders as he attempted to construct a responsible response while balancing the expectations set by both men. Here was yet another hurdle to navigate. Partnership should be built on trust and mutual respect, he answered, trying to find his footing. To be effective, we need to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. He glanced at Kyle for affirmation, realizing he was less concerned about Kyle's agreement than he was about proving himself to Emma. Trust is essential, but what about resilience? Emma's brow raised, her interest piqued. Are you ready for that? It's not just about what you can gain, but also what you might lose. Timmy swallowed hard, her words a stark reminder of the risks involved in the impending negotiations. Could he truly confront the losses that might arise? He remembered the uncomfortable feeling of wrestling with doubt, punctuated by his willingness to embrace whatever awaited him. He would not falter now. "I believe I am," he responded with more confidence than he felt. He locked eyes with Mr. Davidson for a fleeting moment, seeking silent encouragement. Every risk has its rewards, and our strengths in innovation and adaptability can carry us through. Kyle pursed his lips, a mix of curiosity and skepticism present on his face. "Adaptability is one thing, Timmy, but let's not forget the stakes. If you're determined to stand firm on integrity, you'll need to be prepared for disappointment, not just from potential partners, but from the market itself." Timmy bristled at the notion. Disappointment was familiar to him. It had chased him for years. Yet facing it again seemed different. Today he was not just an underdog. He was ready to advocate from a position of potential. "Then let's prepare for it. Let's identify each possible pitfall in advance and plan how to address them." Emma nodded slowly, her expression shifting from challenge to contemplation. "That's a good start, Timmy. But remember this, you must not only anticipate conflicts, but also understand the motivations of those we negotiate with. What drives people varies greatly and can change the course of discussions." Her insights ignited a flicker of understanding within him. Timmy began to realize that merely responding to challenges was not enough. He must actively delve into the motivations behind the potential partner's actions. The knowledge that he could take control of that narrative gave him strength. "Right. So we need to map out not just our proposal, but also the emotional landscape of our potential partners," Timmy said, excitement cresting within him. How liberating it felt to shift his focus. Abandoning the weight of fear to embrace strategy was liberating. As enthusiasm vibrated off him, Kyle leaned closer, no longer the adversary, but a reluctant participant in this shift. "If you think you can outsmart me at my game, you must be prepared for what that entails." "I'm all in," Timmy asserted, driven by a newfound clarity and resurgence of resolve. "Then let's make this partnership one that stands on trust and thorough preparation." "Good," Emma said, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "Prove to me that you're ready for this, and you may just surprise yourself." As the room seemed to swell with potential, Timmy felt the thrill of impending action mingle with anxiety. This was the moment to push from abstract thoughts into concrete strategy. With every growing conviction, he was beginning to carve out his identity within the project. One that was less about others' perceptions and more about his own aspirations. But as the discussion rolled forward with a renewed focus, Timmy's thoughts flickered back to that nagging voice in his mind. Could he really confront the deeper complexities of this business landscape? The rush of possibility intermingled with doubts layered thicker within him. Just then, the door swung open again, and a figure stepped into the room, someone whose identity could tip the balance of everything Timmy had worked for. The air thickened as his heart raced once more. What awaited him this time, now that he was primed for battle? Would this unexpected arrival present an opportunity or an insurmountable challenge? The figure stepped fully into the light, and Timmy's breath caught. It was Mark Spencer, the CEO of a major investment firm, the kind of power player whose decisions could shape entire industries. Mark was known for his acumen, but also for his ruthless approach in negotiations. He surveyed the room, his eyes narrowing slightly as they landed on Timmy. The air felt electric, charged with the weight of potential conflict. "Emma," Mark said, his voice a calm contrast to the brewing tension, "you gather an interesting crowd." He glanced between Timmy and Kyle, a hint of amusement dancing at the corners of his mouth. Timmy felt the full force of his stature. Here he was, not just in the presence of a senior partner, but now at the mercy of someone who wielded immense influence. His heart raced again, tempered by a grudging admiration for the stature of a man who could make or break deals with a flick of his finger. Emma smiled subtly at Mark's compliment, but something in her posture suggested that she was prepared for any eventuality. "We were just discussing the importance of partnerships," she replied, her tone measured. "Maybe you can add your thoughts." As Mark took a seat, Timmy felt urgency swirl inside him. This was his opportunity. "What do you think drives successful partnerships?" he asked. The question aimed squarely at Mark, who had forged many alliances throughout his career. Mark leaned back, folding his arms. The best partnerships emerge when there's a mutual benefit, but even more so, when there's real trust. It's about finding the common ground, establishing what you both want from the table. His imposing demeanor broke into a smirk as he delivered the final word. And of course, knowing what you can take from it. Timmy remained composed, yet inside he was brimming with determination. This man's perspective could help shape his strategy. And how do you become aware of those needs, especially when negotiations get tense? Timmy pressed, eager to extract wisdom from Mark's experience. Tension is where the real conversations happen, Mark said pointedly. People reveal themselves in moments of pressure. You must listen to tone, to unspoken cues, be more observant than ever, and let that guide your next move. Timmy's mind raced, taking in every word. Listening carefully, understanding the emotional dynamics of a room. This was what Emma had hinted at earlier. He realized that the insight wouldn't just benefit him in the short term. It could redefine his approach to every interaction. That's invaluable advice, Timmy responded, the earnestness in his voice surprising even him. He was no longer just seeking acceptance. He was positioning his ideas within the broader framework the men set. Mark's sharp eyes appraised him for a brief moment, as if measuring the weight of Timmy's resolve against the backdrop of their conversation. I like your spirit, but remember, ambition can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. Know which risks are worth taking. Timmy felt a shift within himself. The words ignited a subtle fire of clarity. It wasn't merely about ambition. It was about discernment and strategic foresight, using his values as a guide. Kyle, silently observing, cleared his throat. And what happens when risks threaten to undermine your integrity, Mark? Is there a point of no return? Mark's expression hardened slightly, revealing a seriousness that had flickered beneath his earlier banter. Integrity is non-negotiable until it isn't. Sometimes the stakes demand flexibility, but that's your choice entirely. The discussion turned heavy, a web of moral dilemmas knitting itself around them. Each comment felt like a weight as Timmy contemplated the realities of decision-making. Could he maintain integrity while also being competitive? As conversations veered into broader territories about negotiation tactics, Timmy stayed firm, balancing the thrill of learning with the growing anxiety of predicaments ahead. This exchange was causing him to confront his own values as both a professional and a person. But just as Timmy was piecing together strategies and motivations, another unexpected arrival entered the room. Sarah, the firm's leading advisor in international ventures. Her reputation for insight reverberated around the office, and she was known for being a wild card. Timmy's heart raced anew. Would she stir ambition or further complicate his intentions? Time seemed suspended as he realized this was yet another turning point, a new chapter opening before him. What insight could she offer, and how would he manage the tensions within this increasingly complex web? The stakes were rising, and the answers seemed tantalizingly near yet impossibly out of reach. Timmy's attention shifted as he absorbed the energy of Sarah's entrance. Her confidence radiated through the room, captivating not just the men, but also Timmy, who had always admired her sharp insight. This wasn't just an influx of information, it was a test of his resilience. Sarah's presence added another layer of complexity to an already charged atmosphere. "Sorry to pop in unannounced," Sarah said, her playful smile contrasting her reputation for astute business acumen. She glanced around the room, assessing the scene before settling her gaze on Timmy. "I hope I'm not interrupting something too serious." "Just a discussion on the nuances of partnership," Mark replied, his tone devoid of any irritation. "Care to share your thoughts?" Before Sarah could respond, Timmy sensed a pit in his stomach. He hadn't just been learning from Mark, he had been grappling with his own aspirations, assessing the tension between ambition and integrity. Sarah's arrival forced him to reevaluate his approach further. What would she bring to this charged conversation? "Partnerships thrive on trust, but they also need a keen sense of timing," she said, her voice steady. "You need to know when to push and when to hold back. It's like playing chess, a series of calculated moves." Timmy's instincts flared. Chess was one of his few childhood passions, and now it felt strangely relevant. A healthy partnership was akin to a strategic match, each piece representing an opportunity, a risk, or a consequence. He was losing the connections he had just begun to understand. "Isn't that also about reading the other player?" he interjected, curiosity fueling his question. "Exactly," Sarah replied, her eyes sparkling with recognition. Observing them to tap into the underlying motivations can change the course of negotiations entirely. It's not merely theoretical, it's practical application born from experience. Timmy's heart raced, not just from her words but from the realization that he was grappling with a critical challenge of his own. If he wanted to succeed, he had to integrate this fluid adaptability into his own methodology. He had to become more observant, more strategic. But how? As Mark and Sarah delved deeper into their insights, Timmy found himself spiraling into a moment of self-reflection. His mind flicked through memories of his past, moments when he had played it safe, moments when he had risked too much. Suddenly, the dance of ambition and integrity became even clearer. Could he embrace calculated risks without sacrificing his moral compass? On the flip side, how do you know when risk crosses an unethical boundary? Kyle posed, fostering a charged dialogue. Timmy sensed the tension as the conversation escalated. This was the kind of inquiry that cut through the surface. It meant something deep. Sometimes, Mark noted slowly, it's the consequences that define those boundaries. You have to weigh the potential outcomes. Be prepared for fallout. Here was the crux of his looming dilemma. Was he equipped to navigate this intricate landscape? He was dedicated to his values, yet the seductive lull of ambition beckoned. Timmy's fingers danced nervously on the table. And if you miscalculate? Mark gave Timmy a searching look, a mix of challenge and respect in his expression. At that point, you reassess. That's the mark of a good negotiator, being adaptable yet principled. The conversation took on a life of its own, weaving through lessons on negotiation, moral choices, and the cost of ambitions. But amidst the debate, Timmy felt a stirring realization sink in. Understanding both the chessboard and the marks on players required more than intellect. He needed to confront his own motives decisively. Just as ideas thrummed within him, Sarah leaned forward, her tone shifting dramatically. But remember, the best alliances come from understanding yourself first. Knowing who you are can guide your hand on the board. Timmy thought deeply about that statement. It resonated. Self-awareness, an unanticipated key to navigating this competitive minefield. Could embracing his true self lead him to victories beyond those he had imagined? As they wrapped up the discussion, Timmy's mind whirred with possibilities. His next steps felt monumental, not only in maneuvering partnerships but also in his personal evolution. Just then, Sarah leaned toward him. "You seem deep in thought, Timmy. What's brewing?" He hesitated, recognizing that the moment demanded honesty. "I think I'm beginning to understand how to play this game. I just need to figure out where I fit into it." Sarah nodded, encouraged. "Then it sounds like you're ready for the next move. But be prepared. It may challenge everything you thought you knew." A knot tightened in Timmy's stomach. What challenges lay ahead? Would this journey of self-discovery lead to clarity or complicate his aspirations beyond recognition? The dialogue had uncovered threads of potential, but with growing stakes, he understood. He was still traversing uncertain waters. Real progress awaited, as did the answers to questions he hadn't yet dared to ask. What would happen when he fully embraced both himself and the risks ahead? With the room echoing with possibility, Timmy sensed this was not merely a meeting. It was a turning point. The groundwork was laid for a future that could redefine everything he thought possible. Timmy stood at a crucial juncture, where the ideas exchanged, partnerships forged, and risks contemplated had coalesced into something magnificent. It felt as if he had embarked on a personal rebirth shaped by the ambition and wisdom of those around him. No longer merely a boy dreaming at his mother's side in the diner, he was now a crucial player in a game that went beyond riches and material gains. Days passed, and with each meeting with Mr. Davidson, Timmy evolved. showcasing how his perseverance had honed into strategic insight. They dissected proposals, dissected fears, and ultimately embraced hopes. And amidst it all, his confidence grew. He faced down Kyle's skepticism and responded to Mark's challenges, exposing a vitality he didn't know had been simmering beneath the surface. "Timmy, your input has transformed our strategy meetings," Mr. Davidson remarked one afternoon, a novel respect coloring his voice. "Your capacity to grasp complex concepts and navigate through tension speaks volumes. You're no longer just a participant, you're a formidable partner." Timmy's heart surged. With this recognition came an intoxicating blend of pride and motivation, words he could build a future upon. It was clear he had conquered uncertainty, emerging with clarity around his aspirations. He realized that the ability to weave integrity into ambition gave him a distinctive edge in a world that too often favored shortcuts. If anyone had doubted Timmy's resolve, they were witnessing a transformation fueled by not just ambition, but also authenticity. The vision he once held of a dream home with Maria now morphed into a shared ambition wherein he could provide financial stability while nurturing their bond. The inevitable climax arrived one demanding evening. Tensions flared as a pivotal negotiation loomed, fraught with competitive undertones. Timmy entered the conference room with trepidation underscored by clarity. Everything hinged on their strategy and collective trust. Emma, Mark, and Mr. Davidson awaited, along with representatives from another company poised to challenge their proposal. Amid the formalities, Timmy's heart raced. Yet, he took a deep breath and centered his thoughts, recalling the chess strategy. Readiness amidst chaos. This was his moment. He was ready to shine. The meeting commenced with spirited enthusiasm, but soon crafted bargaining shifted toward intimidation as proposals bounced back and forth. Just as tempers flared, Timmy made his move. "This isn't just about numbers," he interjected, surprising even himself. "This partnership should reflect our values and willingness to support each other's growth. It needs to be founded in trust that both parties share in the success." His voice rang clear, resonating through the air with conviction. Everything, his evolution, the struggles endured, gelled into that potent moment. There were palpable gasps from the room as decision-makers shifted, assessing the child whose conviction placed him squarely on the board as a player, not just a pawn. After a beat of silence, Mr. Davidson smiled, signaling to the room that Timmy had just redirected the dialogue. He had shifted the conversation from monetary gain to a fundamental negotiation about principles. Trust, integrity, and shared success. These were elements that intertwined into their business model. In the days that followed, victory followed investment in values. They secured an agreement framed by mutual respect and potential growth. Everyone around him congratulated him. Yet, within himself, he felt not just elation over the deal but a burgeoning pride, one that harmonized his sense of self with his professional acumen. His mother, Maria, beamed as he shared the news. "You've evolved into a remarkable young man, Timmy," she said, her voice imbued with emotion. Vulnerabilities began to unravel further, showcasing how their relationship had indeed shifted into uncharted territories marked by support, trust, and newfound respect. In that intimate moment, he realized that personal achievements were never merely about the metric of success, but were also about solidifying connections, sharing growth, and remaining rooted in their values. He succeeded not just in partnership but in the relationship that had long been at the heart of his dreams. The love for his mother remained unwavering. Standing outside the diner where their journey had begun, Timmy embraced his mother. The weight once felt from those coins now felt light, transformed into a promise they'd both nurtured. He learned that no part of the journey detracted from their core. Rather, it enhanced their bond, fulfilling the essence of family while opening new doors. Timmy had achieved a remarkable metamorphosis. He was not just emerging with ambition, but with a profound understanding of the delicate balance between integrity and success. This journey had sculpted him into someone who wasn't afraid to navigate complexities, embrace change, and celebrate growth alongside his dearest supporter. So, what comes next for Timmy? The horizon was wide open, full of possibilities yet unencumbered by doubt. The joy of forging new paths with unwavering conviction filled him with solid confidence and immense freedom. Now it's your turn to become part of this transformative journey. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. If you found inspiration in Timmy's journey, leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and share this empowering narrative with others who might need it. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Join the movement, engage, embrace growth, and let the stories unfold. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending below.